Into game two. Najin on the blue side, KOO on the red side.
How do you ban out both the meta and KOO's power picks? That's the question. It feels like Najin feel obliged to ban Kuro's Victor. Of course, still undefeated on that champion. No longer the case for Faker, as he lost yesterday. But the big factor to consider, Monte Cristo, is if you're banning away the Victor, a lot's going to slip through the jar for both sides of this game.
Yeah, it is. Although you still have some of that luxury. The Annie on the red side, I find very interesting. Of course, it was banned from the blue side in that last game, but Kalista, Rise still going to be available, but Najin actually going to be banning the Rise.
You feel like maybe Kalista will start slipping through, not OQ. OQ is one of the best Kalistas in the world, so he is not someone who picked it up, but you can kind of see it start just coming through the pick and ban. Still really a first round pick, people prioritizing both the damage she can put out, but also the utility that 80 carry brings.
So where do you go here? Alistair was an important ban in the first game. The Lucian was something they were afraid of in terms of the strength of OQ's laning phase. And thinking long and hard about this one. They can get the Alistair. So yeah, I think the Lucian ban is smarter because you assume that Najin's going to pick Gragas.
And Kog'Maw's also a consideration. Maokai's banned away. Suddenly, backline threat is kind of absent. You have to feel like it's going to be a first-round pick on one side of the Joss, but okay, Watch is going to take the Rek'Sai. The Evelynn hasn't been working out for Watch. And the last matchup couldn't really get much done, so it goes for the Rek'Sai. A lot of potential pressure being put out, but you sacrifice at least the Braum over to KOO. And look, Braum is now higher considered than the Alistair.
Yep. And I think that is just generally where we're going these days, especially before the Runeglaive nerfs, because that is one of the main things that's brought Braum into such a high priority, is that it shuts down potential Runeglaive Ezreal picks and makes your opponents very scared that you're going to pick it too. Remember, the Runeglaive Ezreal fell all the way through the draft in the last game. It may come through here. Rumble in the top side for Smeb.
With Maokai banned away, Maokai traditionally a lane winning matchup. You do 10 or 20 CS is usually the advantage you get as the Maokai. With Maokai banned away, suddenly not that many reliable ways to deal with the Rumble because it's patch 5.13 and Liandry's in particular. In general, the core items for a Rumble have been buffed, so he's now really gone up the priority. It's always been up there, at least this season, but nothing changes as Alistair and Sivir, strong 2v2 lane taken by Najin.
Yeah, no surprise there, right? You have the Alistair pickup. Here's played a lot of it this season. Now if you're Najin, you actually have a form of primary engage like they did in the last game. Gragas and Corki, to the surprise of none, will get locked in for the KOO Tigers. They're going for a very standard KOO mid-game power spike team composition, but you have to be very afraid. This is a big setup for Runeglaive Ez. Kuro loves playing poke champions. He has a lot of leeway with that. How are they going to deal with the possibility of a Runeglaive Ezreal here? They don't have the Maokai. They banned it themselves. They have an Azir. That's going to be pretty good in the laning phase, but not that great late. Olaf will be the draft for Duke in the top side as he swaps to Smite.
The Maokai no longer available. Olaf is the take. Look, this is a great champion running into the backline to a very squishy backline that we expected from KOO. They see the Olaf and suddenly not really incentivized to go for the APS, or they might actually go for the Lulu and go for one of these basically monopolize objectives or lose comps.
Yeah, this is going to be very difficult for them to play. I think the Jace may be a little bit stronger here, so they have some more poke. We have only seen one game since Jace was changed, and it was a loss by Coco and CJ. Lulu doesn't make a lot of sense here because you will have no damage in the late game with the KOO Tigers composition.
And one single damage type. Corki and Rumble, of course, are your other big threats, so you kind of need some source of true physical damage. So Jace does loom as the pick, is locked in, as you mentioned. We have to remember, of course, kind of temper that loss. It was CJ with the Goon squad. It wasn't with their strongest lineup, so Coco was kind of playing a lone hand this game. Jace has that massive power strike around the time he finishes the Mana Moon and a bit of armor penetration. That's when the burst really sticks, but in the late game, specifically when Olaf can start getting really tanky, the poke falls away, and it feels like you have to take advantage of that mid-game window here, KOO, or you're just outclassed in the late game.
Yeah, could be very problematic indeed. I'm taking a look right now at Kuro's stats. He has only ever played a single game on Jace, which was a victory, but it's been a long time, and definitely not a champion that we associate with Kuro in the same way that we would talk about Coco's Jace, for example. So a bit different here, very mid-game focused composition from the Tigers. NJE Empire, they've got a lot of engage. They have the Sivir Ghost Olaf. That is terrifying for a backline of poking champions. So KOO going to have to be on point with their positioning.
Olaf has that mini Righteous Glory with his ultimate. Will probably buy the item as well. So many ways to launch that Viking into the backline.
All right, guys, we're loading up right now. Interesting counter picks for NJE Empire. They have really pivoted from the last game, going much more for the engage, for the 5v5, and they should have that late game advantage. KOO needs to hit hard and early if they're going to win. So let's get into game 2. Welcome to game 2. Najin down 0-1 currently against the KOO Tigers after a very fast win from KOO, and changing things up this time, not going for that split push, instead making a different tactical approach to see if they can shut down. We haven't seen a top lane Olaf in a really, really long time.
And kind of the interesting thing to consider, Monte Cristo, is how are they going to lane this Olaf? Are they going to look for a lane swap? Are they going to look for the 1v1? Because traditionally, Emax Olaf beat a lot of melee top laners. You just couldn't trade with that instant burst of over 300 true damage. I think it's down to 250 now at max range, but of course, very short cooldown on that. The all-ins with the slows coming in consistently from the queue were a very real thing. And of course, Olaf was a flexible 1v2 champion because you do have ranged wave clear with the Q. The big issue is, though, although it's a melee range top laner, Rumble will win those damage trades, specifically before you can kind of try and outplay with the Ragnarok. So the 1v1 matchup, I think, is a really tough one to opt into here for Duke.
Well, we're going to see if he chooses it or not. Of course, you do have that Sivir advantage over the Corki early, so Najin may be considering that too when they plan out their laning phase. We see OQ and Pure already stacked up in those bottom brushes. Now, Corki's down here alone. Smeb, KOO, or Smeb, Gorilla, and Hojin taking a look at that Gromp right now, and Prey just floating in circles serenely. He's getting pretty close, though. This could be dangerous. He's got to take a big trade early. He has to run away immediately. Doesn't expect Pure to be there. There's the pulverized. Prey has to burn that heal. Gorilla now down, but this is going to be a huge advantage for Najin.
He completely chunked out of lane. Can only assume he'd already scaled up the phosphorus bomb. Otherwise, it would have been very smart to scale up the Valkyrie at the last minute. Went for the freeze, was punished. Najin had all the extra information from just sitting in that brush and seeing the lane assignment. So that's actually a surprisingly big advantage for 2 minutes 30 into the game.
Yeah, absolutely is. Ooh. And Duke getting very, very low right there.
Calculated.
Very calculated.
Down to about 40 health.
You got to maximize your Olaf damage, you know, with that passive.
Remember you casting a game and forgetting that, of course, you just tank the turret and take it down faster. And that situation didn't even pick up the W for any sort of sustain. That was a super risky jungle clear.
I really appreciate when you bring up all my mistakes on the broadcast.
There aren't many of them, Monty. There aren't many of them. It's just been a while since Olaf's been in the meta.
Yep, Shy Soul Sunfire, or Soul Baron with Sunfire. Let's get them all out there right now.
All right, that's 2. I'll keep thinking.
All right, so Prey's back. Prey is down, though, and how are they going to play around this disadvantage that we see developing? Smeb up a level onto Duke so far. And just hanging back and absorb at least some of that damage from the Reckless Swing with his Scrap Shield.
Surprising to see that Smeb in this matchup still goes for that amp tome start. We've seen a lot of amp tome starts from the likes of Marin, I believe, who innovated that on this Rumble. Of course, the extra AP helps you with your pushing options in the early game, but lack of flat health could really be taken advantage of by Duke if he can get those big damage trades in.
Yeah, that's the only counter to true damage that there is. He's got to stack that health. Well, taking a look at the win rates right now, Gorilla 5-1 on that Braum. So certainly putting up some numbers so far, and here comes a sneaky gank from Watch, and Hojin's not here yet. Smeb is overextended for sure without jungle support. But Rek'Sai just waiting right now. Remember, you can chain those Qs together. He misses the first one. There's the Ghost coming through. Smeb in a little bit of trouble, and he is going to have to flash right now the second Q. Hojin on his way. Hojin is late. Can they turn this around? There's a flash body slam. Watch getting low. Overheat about to go through for Smeb, but he goes down for first blood. Hojin's still there. He's got the red buff. He may be trying to chain, but there is Duke, and he's going to block the body slam, and a double kill for Duke. Goong comes up into the river, the first to respond, and that was a nice body block from Duke to save Watch.
And credit to Smeb, he managed to dodge so many axes to stay healthy, then overheated with his flame spitter on. Thought he might be able to turn it around, but is too strong in the dueling one Najin. And credit to Goong, by far the first to rotate to that top lane skirmish.
Yeah, and you do have that priority early if you are that Azir, of course, because you're going to be trying to poke out Kuro's Jace. So a double kill onto Duke is about the worst thing that could happen for the KOO Tigers. They really, really need to protect that backline, and a strong Olaf combined with the advantage that they already have here in bot is going to be very problematic when KOO tries to hit a mid-game power spike right now.
And Smeb, that's the awkward thing about Rumbles, especially if you have the amp tome, you're going to push in. There's always so much counterplay about really pushing his Rumble. And this point, Hojin was out of position, Watch was certainly in position, and the moment he ghosted, Rumble knew exactly what was happening, but what's he to do?
Yeah, and that's it. We've talked about this many times. If you are playing Rumble as a team, you have to coordinate the jungle pathing with your jungler because he is so vulnerable when he gets close to the enemy turret that if you're not there to counter gank, you are going to lose.
And speaking of losing, Smeb can't go anywhere near this minion. It's been expertly frozen by Duke. Okay, not so expertly, did let one of the minions hit the turret, but he has red buff and of course has the consistent slows already. Smeb needs level 6 to hope to push this in with the equalizer, but nowhere near that level 6 power spike.
No, he is not. They do have a pink ward in the tri-brush. Gorilla making a play here. We see this all the time from Gorilla, going for some very aggressive attempts at the top side. This trinket ward is ticking down right now. We'll see if they have a timer on that or whether they're going to push too far forward too soon. There it goes down.
Has the Ragnarok available now. Doesn't have Ghost. Could try and burn him down with damage, but...
yeah, it really does seem rather unlikely.
I have to assume he's still in the brush.
Smeb still waiting for that equalizer. Not going to have that ability for a little bit of time, and everyone just backs off right now. Gorilla goes on back to a roam on the bottom side. They realize there's really nothing that they can do.
The displacement, you know, if you're throwing that cask from the out of the fog of war, maybe you can get it through, but just so much downside when you're so close to Olaf's turret that just not worth the time investment for Hojin.
No, but it was a little bit of insurance. Should there be a gank right there, even though it did cost them a little bit of XP to stay in that top side. And now Smeb does have level 6, so he's going to be in a bit better of a position, especially as the wave is pushing back towards him. Now, killing that Rumble doesn't really do too much to his mid-game damage, though, so KOO can still stack Dragon. Basically, at this stage, with this early deficit, Dragon is going to be the way forward. That is going to be the way they win this game.
A positive laning matchup suddenly becomes a super tricky one for the Rumble. He is at kill risk. A lot of times, Duke does have the ability to just ghost, use that Ragnar, and do a lot of damage. So in terms of the 1v1, this is kind of always the story for Rumble, but even more pigeonholed than you would have thought in Champ Select at being a team fight force rather than being able to 1v1 the Olaf at any point this game.
Yeah, definitely a major problem right now. OQ actually staying pretty even in terms of CS with Prey, surprisingly, after that little bit of an ambush. But he did get a nice recall, so he is going to come back to lane with that BF sword. Kuro moving backwards as Goong tries to advance his Sand Soldier line. And here's going to be an early Dragon. This is huge for Najin. If they can get this, they are going to be in a very, very good situation. And it's free. Prey was back. OQ got the first recall because he had that lane advantage, and Gorilla was leaving, so it was easier for OQ and Pure to push it up. And now that's going to be a Dragon. That is the thing that KOO really needed to remain relevant,
just had to send multiple members to kind of fight around this top lane matchup. Worried about Smeb in that 1v1 against Duke. They've had to send Hojin. They've had to send Gorilla. They've just never been in a position to really exert any pressure or wards onto his bot side jungle. And the mid-game comp loses the first dragon. That's usually a spoiler for a lost game for the KOO Tigers.
Yeah, this is not going well, to say the least. Couldn't actually deal with the gank from Watch, and now it's all falling apart. 2,000 gold and a dragon, the lead right now for Najin. Smeb starting to recover in terms of CS.
Nice poke coming through from KOO. This is definitely the time where the damage really starts to ascend for Jace. Before any armor is picked up, you can definitely boss around both tanks and squishies alike, but come 25-30 minutes, things start to turn around and people start to out-sustain the massive poke from Jace.
Yeah. But there's no one for Jace to poke right now besides the mid lane. Basically, KOO just has to sit tight until there's an objective to go after.
And the world's biggest go button is coming with that catalyst purchase from Olaf. They're basically...
Sivir, Righteous Glory. Oh, geez. Ghost.
Someone's shouting free muffins, free cookies, because there's just a stampede of people who are going to be running, a cow included. Pure is in the top lane already. The turret dive looms a certain possibility.
And where's the equalizer? There it is, but Smeb just going to get destroyed behind his turret. Can't do much of anything. Pure with the easy tank job with the unbreakable will. And another kill for Duke. Well, not much you can say right there. There's very little that Smeb could do against a play like that. Chose not to burn his flash, probably intelligently.
And this is must-win territory for Najin, both this game if they want to be committed to this series, that part goes without being said. But in terms of just their playoff hopes, they have the harder run-in compared to Jinnair. They have to face SKT compared to Jinnair, having that unique game against Anarchy that you kind of already pencil in as a victory. If Najin lose here today, they are odds on the massive underdogs to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, that run would have to be absolutely incredible, but they're doing great here already. A tower down, more money for Duke, as he is going to be looked to carry on this game, and he's on the perfect champion against this team composition to be that big-time carry.
And carry top laners who can get to the backline. This is what we've been talking about. All right, the Cinderhawk's out of the meta. There was actually a time when you and I were speculating Olaf with the TP Smite might actually be coming through when the Cinderhawk meta was just at its infant steps. It was being seen in solo queue, never translated to competitive, but in a meta where only really Maokai has been seen as a capable top lane tank that has backline pressure against the likes of Kog'Maw, suddenly Olaf does loom, you know, in certain matchups and certain comps as a viable pick.
Absolutely. So we do see the blue buff invade coming through from Najin, trying to eliminate some of these wards. Goong getting into a good position around this buff right here, but nothing really going to come of that yet. Just a little bit of vision as Najin moves forward on the bottom side. Smeb just trying to freeze right now back next to his turret, but he's going to be giving away a lot of presence around the red buff while that occurs.
And let's remember the mind space that Najin holds for both of us, I think, for most analysts, is great landing team. Macro decisions, late game, you know, a bit of a question mark. It's nice to see them understand they never need to have multiple members in the top side of this jungle apart from Baron fights, because Olaf versus Rumble has turned into a mismatch. Now they can just fight around the dragon. They can try and control the enemy blue. They already have a significant gold advantage, 3,000. They've got the inside track to the next dragon, having been the ones to pick up the first. Najin is winning in multiple ways as Hojin face checks a couple.
And here comes the TP already on the way from Olaf. There's the TP from Rumble. It is going to be a bit later. Duke has the advantage. So there's the Glacial Fissure, going to knock a few up. Beautiful equalizer on top of the Glacial Fissure, but is that going to be enough? OQ already here with the Sivir ultimate, and no one dies from KOO thanks to the nice disengage of the double ults from Braum and Rumble. They even win in terms of damage right there. Goong having a hard time, and Najin maybe could have done a little bit better when it came to engaging that fight. They didn't have Ghost up for Olaf, and they also didn't have Sivir there, so no real way for Duke to get in, even though he had the priority with the TP.
And that was definitely a case of almost for Najin. Didn't quite have the Righteous Glory finish. Went for the boots too, only had the Catalyst in the infantry. Didn't have Sivir to provide the first speed boost for the Olaf, so just couldn't get Olaf into the back line. Very much a blast from the past when it comes to Olaf getting kited out of fights. That will change as the items in the game goes towards the 5v5 team fight phase, but KOO kind of get a let off there and able to go back and pick up some farm before the inevitable dragon fight in just over a minute's time.
Yeah, they will have all their crucial ultimates back up by that time as well. Najin, in a very similar boat, of course. Duke now going to be trying to take the red buff to keep on split pushing. That is going to be a huge takeaway from KOO here as they try to keep their second turret in the top lane intact. Now, Watch maybe playing a little bit aggressively, but not going to get too punished for it right now. Kuro still without a significant amount of damage, only that Brutalizer.
I think he must be sitting on quite a lot of gold, of course. Only about 2,000 gold's worth of items between the Brutalizer and the tier, so probably shopping now. Not going to be close to Muramana, expecting maybe a 22-23 minute transformation for that. But of course the damage and the shock blast in general.
Oh, he got it.
Going to definitely be sticking.
Got the Manamune at least.
But not the Muramana.
Yeah, oh, yes.
The dream of the Jace with 13-minute Muramanas. It's a couple of years out of date.
I remember those days. They were not good days. The tier patches were terrifying. And it was full of top lane Ryze and top lane Jace. And CJ was dominating everybody.
Man, that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Well, I mean, CJ, no. They are the 1-21-1 after breaking the streak yesterday. I mean, it could have been a wrestling storyline at 21-1. The viewers understand.
They had to do it. You can't eclipse the Undertaker, is that what you're saying?
You can never eclipse the Undertaker. Of course, that 21 streak was over 21 years, but, you know, other than that.
Okay, so Najin gets into the Dragon Pit early. Trinity Force is done for Prey, but we see that Scuttle Crab going over to Najin. They do not have teleport, neither team does, so it looks like KOO going to be content with giving this one up. Duke just standing there, and he will be recalling, as a matter of fact. So tier 1 turret traded for the Dragon right now. That'll keep things at about 2,000 gold difference once Smeb actually takes down the turret.
And you might shake your head and say, okay, but you're giving them mid-game comp and a little bit of extra gold. They're very close to hitting their item timings. Why are you opting into this big, heavy Dragon contest if you're Najin? Why are you giving up the turret pressure when you were just headily winning this 1v1 matchup between Olaf and Rumble? Crucial factor. I mean, KOO have basically picked to monopolize Dragon. That's basically their win condition with all their poke. The 5th Dragon now, even if they were able to get the inside track on the rest of them, of course, that's 30 minutes of time from now. That's 46 minutes. So even if they never contest for another Dragon, they've already basically shut out the hopes and dreams of KOO when it comes to that Dragon 5-stack.
Now, I will say this, when it comes to the KOO Tigers, when they have played compositions like this in the past, they actually have been able to pull out wins in the late game due to some tricky shot calling around Baron. But it is by the skin of their teeth a lot of the time, and we don't even see that tower and top lane go down. KOO didn't have any vision, so I think they thought that Olaf backed sooner than he did, and he also bought the home guard boots, so Smeb pulled off the turret a little bit early because he was afraid of getting caught in infinite axe chains from Duke if he happened to be in that top side. He knew that the ghost was up. So not actually going to get the objective, and that just means that the Tigers trade that Dragon for nothing, and this mid lane turret is so close to dying.
You have to think they'll rotate around bottom. They already have a Sivir who has a lot of turret pressure. Goong's looking for an auto attack, doesn't get it, takes turret aggro, but it's definitely going to be the turret coming down. It's Goong.
Oh. Missed skill shot from Kuro. Goong was 100% dead there if that had landed.
Oh, it was overkill. 300 damage overkill at least. Those EQs are hitting for around 500 damage at this stage of the game.
Wow, so another mechanical misplay from the KOO Tigers could have resulted in something. Goong kind of questionably going deep right there. Had his barrier, but I think he still would have died.
That was almost Lee syndrome. I don't know if there's a word for Azir syndrome. But the Birdman certainly went far too aggressive, just with no provocation. There was nothing he was going to get from taking that gap closer.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. So kind of odd misplays by both of the mid laners. And now, here comes Watch. He wants to get around. They want this last tier 1 turret taken away from KOO. Checking for the blue buff right now. He will be seen with the Wolf Spirit.
Waiting for Jason Gragas to come in. In fact, Gorilla's trying to head off as well. We could see 5v5 action around this blue, but it's enough to at least get the buff onto Jason. Maybe the fight starts.
Gorilla goes in, he gets the Glacial Fissure, but there's nothing else. And look at this Duke already in the backline, TPing deep into the fight. He gets chunked out early, however. Prey on his own right here. Prey has to deal with this Luden Zeko Azir. He's trying to run, actually gets the flash off, or the heal off rather, nearly takes out OQ. Can't quite make the play, so the dive complete. Gorilla goes in, but the rest of his team was cut off by the Olaf teleport, and that was it. So 2 for none. Turret goes down in favor of Najin as they continue to extend this gold lead.
6,000 gold and 2 dragons to 0 against a mid-game comp. It's a scary spot for KOO and for this KOO line. Look at this return damage coming through from this Azir.
Yeah, there's that echo just bouncing between members of KOO early on. They just don't have any magic resist at this point in time, so nothing they can do against Kung's Azir. And KOO, they got to do something or they're going to get perfect game. They don't have turrets, they don't have kills, they don't have any dragons. And the 2 factors that really came up big here were Prey eating that trade at level 1, and then the misplay. Okay, goodbye, Smeb, you are gone. You're going to try and flash for this, but the axes are still coming through. One more, and there's going to be the disengage, but they have to use so much for that.
And the Ragnarok wasn't quite off cooldown just now, awkwardly, if you're Duke, but Spam can never be that far down the lane unless they put multiple wards into really getting sort of defensive vision. He just can't be within axe range of this Olaf.
Well, Najin has done a great job of advancing their ward line, though, throughout this game. They have the deep wards on both sides of the map, and now KOO's in this situation where they have to push up to the tier 1s. They have to get some vision denial in their own jungle, because otherwise the flanks from this Olaf are just going to destroy them.
And look, KOO picked the comp that needs to take the initiative, that needs to make the mid-game their own. As Duke, he has Ragnarok available, he's going to have to use it. Will he get away? Winter's Bite has been hit, but able to just casually saunter away as the Olaf.
That's the power of the Ragnarok, of course. Has the Glory too, does use it. Prey under the tower right now. Watch is going to find him. Prey gets hit by the Chilling Smite, and OQ with the finisher on the kill, thanks to the help of On the Hunt. So another dive. Prey just can't do anything. And Najin doing a great job of snowballing this game.
Just playing around, winning lanes expertly on Najin. They have the superior wave clear in every lane. And look, KOO have so few resources they have access to get back into this game. They want to farm up. Even though they don't have the late game, they want to at least be able to opt into fights. But even with their earlier power spikes, they're behind in items, they're behind in gold, and they're certainly behind in objective.
Yep, and they can't stop their towers from being chipped. It's way too safe for Najin to push up to a tier 2 with the vision control that they currently have. They have wards in all the right places right now. They're pretty much no avenues that KOO can take through their own jungle that won't be seen. So that's, as long as they continue to split push, they can 1-3-1 this all day and keep pressing their edge. So Dragon is live, 3rd Dragon of the game very early because of how soon and how quickly Najin took the first one. They're looking for it. Duke doesn't have TP, but he's making his way down.
He's trying to buy time for Duke to come out. They want to avoid being chunked out. Jay still has a lot of damage. Duke's in a nice spot, has the Ragnarok.
And here we go. Ragnarok is popped. He's trying to get the backside. Glacial Fissure goes down. Hojin the first to fall, but Pure just tanking away all of that poke with the Alistar ult in the front line. And Najin doesn't have to engage this. They can just go straight to the Dragon right now. Hojin already down. That smite not going to be there for a possible steal.
On the Hunt wasn't available. It is now, and the re-engage, but potential is real.
And there they go. KOO actually goes in way too early compared to his team. Duke knocked backwards by Kuro. No Ragnarok to prevent that CC, so awkward engage now. Prey still on the outside. Kuro in a duel in the mid lane. Prey looks like he's going to live. Actually, Jace takes down Olaf, so a couple of kills for the KOO Tigers on a sloppy re-engage by Najin. And Gorilla just a bit too tanky. Here we go. Watch coming through with the Void Rush. Goodbye, Kuro. Eventually, he will get chilled and smote to death.
Chilled and smote. Sounds like what you ask for when you get your drinks at the cocktail bar, Monte Cristo.
Yeah, chilled and smote?
Yep.
Well, I do like my cocktails dead. Not too into the living ones.
Fair enough. And speaking of living, Dragon's not going to be doing any more living. 3-0 now. We're going to see a replay. This was sloppy from KOO. Even the on the hunt usage was a little bit late, and Goon just got free DPS to death.
Yeah, that was very odd. You can see the coordination around Najin not really there in that engage. They do try and get prey around the side, but KOO, you can't just leave him there. Jace is incredibly strong in 1v1 situations, especially when he switches to that hammer stance. He can hit you like a truck and has a nice execute too, so have to be very careful. Duke didn't have anything available for that engagement. Doesn't really matter though, Najin has such a huge edge.
I mean, Najin had a huge edge, but Duke really misplayed there. Remember, he was the one who was 4-0 before he fell to Jace, but the crucial factor, he's got health, but basically itemized purely into magic resist. So opting into a fight against a Jace with no armor, you have to pay for it.
You do have to pay for it. So, Dragon, or Baron rather now, Najin's objective of choice in this game. They can do it very, very quickly with Azir and the true damage from Olaf, so KOO Tigers have to be particularly cautious.
Your amount of transform is through, but crucially no last whisper just yet. The item floor, the items that a Jace needs to be relevant is very, very low. Just really needs those 2 armor penetration items and to transform that mirror mana. He's perilly close to that stage, but kind of needs it. They need to win the next engagement, KOO, otherwise this game, I mean, all the neutral buffs, all the global gold has gone to Najin in the early game. KOO definitely missed their window, but we're not even really talking about windows. If there's another fighter, casually steals with the barrel.
Barrel steal for Hojin. Watch did not have a smite available, I think.
He seems to want to use it. Not really any way to engage in these narrow crevices, so Najin just trying to poke around and clear some waves.
Yeah, that is one thing that Najin have to be careful of. If they try and engage through a choke point against Fisher and Equalizer, they will be in a world of hurt and get kited out by the poke. So Hojin gonna get caught right here. Can he get over the wall? Nope, just bursted into oblivion. Throws a party cask at his feet, but just disperses the enemy, not really causing much threat. So Najin here, trying to get onto this Baron right now. KOO, and there's a great engage from Pure. Gorilla responds with the Glacial Fissure. Prey here, and here comes Duke on the TP. Look at that fast Viking, just running down the opposition, gets Smeb underneath his turret, and now they can turn onto the Baron with another couple of kills. Duke's
lovely flash headbutt pulverized from the Alistar.
Yeah, and Duke's TPs have been much more on point this game. You have to hand it to him. That has been a problem for this team in the past, is Duke being there on time, but he has delivered in this game.
So Duke's someone, of course, had an excellent spring season. He's an excellent 1v1 laner, but teleport play is not what we really know him for, as Najin do pick up this Barons. I think they just put the training wheels on Montreux. I think they just said, okay, 7 games of Maokai. If you can't learn teleport play with 7 games of Maokai, mate, top lane's not for you. It certainly worked out here.
Yeah, it has been much better. He's been getting onto some good wards too. It's also helped that Najin has had some nice vision control in this game, so he's had a few choices to make on how to get into the back line. And this Olaf just out of control right now.
I think Najin are really showing where the vision meta is going. So we talk a lot about the champion picks, but when it comes to vision, feels like Jin Air was maybe the first team to have the inside track on understanding that warding totems just that much more powerful than even having 4 sweepers, as we can see that KOO has, is he just can't clear out 3 wards a person when basically 5 members of the team, sometimes 4 if Pilot's playing, has that ability to put down 3 wards. There's always going to be that flank ward when we're talking about the potential of 15 wards, green wards, and some pinks out on the map.
Yeah, absolutely, but I mean, the sweepers with a poke comp like this, where you want to deny the flank wards as much as you can, certainly have their own value. But yes, in this situation, playing from this far behind, you're just not going to outward Najin, and there will always be choices for them to make. Smeb, huge amount of damage onto him. Baron buff is here for Najin. Should be a pretty easy win, and in the first best of 3, we've come to see a couple of very one-sided series. And quite honestly, both teams' strengths. KOO winning in the first game by having a better draft and for playing as a team better, and Najin winning just out of the laning phase in the second as KOO makes some pretty terrible errors early on in lane, and that gives Najin such a foothold that there isn't any coming back with their mid-game composition.
Yeah, you've been able to tank up this outer tower, finally break the base. What's KOO to do? They just watch on as Najin take free objectives.
Here we go, Hojin chucked out immediately. OQ just going to finish off some kills with some auto attacks right now. Equalizer and Fisher are down, but that doesn't prevent Najin from just flashing forward onto the rest of the KOO Tigers. And now Najin will back off, turn their sights on the inhibitor instead. They're going to try and use this Baron buff to get some of these Nexus turrets down right away.
And the death time is still 30 seconds for Prey. They're going to get one Nexus turret. I think they can finish the game. It seems like Najin know just that.
And that's it. Going to be a 29-minute game for Najin Empire. They do win game 2. Couple of stomps coming in early. That sends us to a game 3 between these two teams. It is so fitting that Najin just wins one game out of the laning phase. KOO Tigers just win one game out of having that great draft and superior strategy on the map. Very characteristic of both of these organizations.
It feels like Najin, for example, Najin versus KT happened twice in 2 weeks, 2-0 stomps each way. These teams, that are fighting for those playoff positions are quite even. They can trade wins, and Najin keep their slim playoff hopes alive. They still have 4 series to play, including this one. But with the harder run, Jin Air will be very confident.